One of the saddest pictures recorded in the Bible has to be Judges chapter 19 and verse 27. Judges 19:27. When her master arose in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go on his way, then behold, his concubine was lying at the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. Of course, only when we learn the rest of the story behind the scene here does it become one of the most poignant, one of the most moving, heart-rending scenes we ever come across in the Bible. So let's back up a little bit in the account. It's the period of the Judges. A Levite, his concubine, and a servant were traveling from Bethlehem back to their home in the hill country of Ephraim. And when they passed by the city of Jebus, later to be known as Jerusalem, the Levite is very adamant about not stopping at this city to spend the night. No, he wants to go on to Gibeah in Benjamin so that they can stay with God's people. And so there's this tremendous irony in the account as the pagan city of the Jebusites is avoided so as to spend the night with God's people in Gibeah. Of course, as the story unfolds, we find out that the good guys had become as bad as the bad guys. And one wonders if it might have been best for them to stay with those pagans in Jebus. Why? Well, in Gibeah, no one offers them hospitality. Chapter 19 and verse 15. Furthermore, certain worthless fellows of the city actually wanted to have relations with the Levite. Judges 19 and verse 22. While they were celebrating, behold, the men of the city, certain worthless fellows, surrounded the house, pounding the door. And they spoke to the owner of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came into your house that we may have relations with him." The Bible is recording a kind of second Sodom and Gomorrah. Only this time, it's not with pagans, but with God's people. There was one elderly man who finally opened his home to the travelers, but he ends up perverting hospitality and a sense of duty into the grotesque idea of casting two innocent women to the dogs. Verse 23, Then the man, the owner of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my fellows, please do not act so wickedly, since this man has come into my house. Do not commit this act of folly. Here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. Please let me bring them out that you may ravish them and do to them whatever you wish. But do not commit such an act of folly against this man." And then there's the Levite. He's the man of God. He's the religious person. Did service at the tabernacle. The Levite is somehow able to go to sleep after thrusting his concubine out to the ungodly crowd. Verse 25, But the men would not listen to him. So the man seized his concubine and brought her out to them, and they raped her and abused her all night until morning, then let her go at the approach of dawn. Verse 27 talks about the man arose in the morning. So apparently he was able to go to sleep after doing this to his concubine. He had sacrificed her to save his own life, and is he now somehow able to sleep? And apparently he's so callous that when he sees her lying at the threshold in the morning, he can only manage to say, verse 28, "Get up and let us go." Not a word about how are you doing this morning. Of course, there is no answer from her, and we know why. She's already dead. And we observe that this man didn't treat her in death any better than he did in life. And so apparently, in verse 27, with her last breath, she turned to the house where he was who should have been her protector. With her hands on the threshold, the Bible tells us. So close and yet so far. So close and yet too late. Because when he stumbles upon her in the morning, she's already dead. And I think we read this account and we say, how could a father offer his own daughter as a sacrifice to the lusts of a mob? Or a Levite in the same manner with his concubine. And yet, many parents today allow their sons and daughters' minds and hearts to be violated by what they see and hear in movies, on television, on the internet, in video games, and at many kinds of concerts. We wouldn't let a rapist get a hold of our daughters, but we seem to have no qualms about letting the world rape our families' souls with every kind of ungodliness, from the outright vulgar to the deceptively subtle. And when will we find our children's hands on the threshold of our house seeking help? Will we see it in their eyes on the day of judgment when they shuffle off to an eternity in hell and we find out that it's too late? Or will we see their hands on the threshold today, when there is still time and opportunity to help? To talk to them about the dangers of worldly influence, to change the channel to a more wholesome offering, or better yet, turn off the device and sing a hymn together as a family. Proverbs 4 verse 23, watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. The God who made us in His own image expects us to stand up bravely and not let the world violate our minds and hearts. To take responsibility for the children in our care and not let the world rape their souls. And if you or I have failed in one of these areas, well, the good news is there is forgiveness from our Creator wherever there is repentance. If you've already accumulated a lifetime of being violated by the ideas of the world, the blood of Christ shed on the cross can atone. Let us know how we can help you understand what to do to be saved. Contact us at the information on the screen, and thank you so much for listening.